Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari, Yamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, it's the new chapter. That's what it is. I think it's here somewhere. Okay, chapter 9. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, The Science of God, and we're on chapter 9. Prahlad Maharaj pacifies Lord Nishingadev with prayers. As related in this chapter, Prahlad Maharaj, following the order of Lord Brahma, pacifies the Lord when the Lord was extremely angry and having killed Hiranyakashipu. After Hiranyakashipu was killed, the Lord continued to be very angry, and the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, could not pacify him. Even Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the constant companion of Narayan, could not dare come before Lord Nishingadev. Then Lord Brahma asked Prahlad Maharaj to go forward and pacify the Lord's anger. Prahlad Maharaj, being confident of the affection of his master, Lord Nishingadev was not afraid at all. He very gravely appeared before the Lord's lotus feet and offered him respectful obeisances. Lord Nishingadev, being very much affectionate toward Prahlad, put his hand on Prahlad's head, and because of being personally touched by the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj immediately achieved Brahma Jnana, spiritual knowledge. Thus, he offered his prayers to the Lord in full spiritual knowledge and full devotional ecstasy. The instructions given by Prahlad Maharaj in the form of his prayers are as follows. Prahlad said, I am not proud of being able to offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I simply take shelter of the mercy of the Lord, for without devotion one cannot appease him. One cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by dint of high parentage, or great opulence, learning, austerity, penance, or mystic power. Indeed, these are never pleasing to the Supreme Lord, for nothing can please him but pure devotional service. Even if a non-devotee is a Brahmana qualified with the 12 Brahmanical symptoms, he cannot be very dear to the Lord. Whereas if a person born in a family of dog-eaters is a devotee, the Lord can accept his prayers. The Lord does not need anyone's prayers, but if a devotee offers his prayers to the Lord, the devotee benefits greatly. Ignorant persons born in low families, therefore, can sincerely offer heartfelt prayers to the Lord, and the Lord will accept them. As soon as one offers his prayers to the Lord, he is immediately situated on the Brahman platform. Lord Nrsimhadev appeared for the benefit of all human society, not only for Prahlad's personal benefit. The fierce form of Lord Nrsimhadev may appear most awful to a non-devotee, but to a devotee, the Lord is always affectionate, as he is in other forms. Conditioned life in the material world is actually extremely fearful. Indeed, a devotee is not afraid of anything else. Fear of material existence is due to false ego. Fear of material existence is due to false ego. Therefore, the ultimate goal of life for every living entity is to attain the position of being servant of the Lord. The miserable condition of the living entities in the material world can be remedied only by the mercy of the Lord. Although there are so-called material protectors like Lord Brahma and the other demigods, or even one's own father, they are unable to do anything if one is neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one who has fully taken shelter of the Lord's lotus feet can be saved from the onslaught of material nature. Therefore, every living entity should be unattracted by material so-called happiness and should take shelter of the Lord by all means. That is the mission of human life. To be attracted by sense gratification is simply foolish. Whether one is a devotee of the Lord or is a non-devotee does not depend upon one's birth in a high or low family. Even Lord Brahma and the goddess of fortune cannot achieve the full favor of the Lord, whereas a devotee can very easily attain such devotional service. The Lord's mercy is bestowed equally upon everyone, regardless of whether one is high or low. Because Prahlad Maharaj was blessed by Narad Muni, Prahlad became a great devotee. The Lord always saves the devotees from impersonalists and voidists. The Lord always saves the devotee from impersonalists and voidists, if the devotee wants that, right? The Lord is present in everyone's heart as the supersoul to give the living being protection and all benefits. Thus, the Lord acts sometimes as the killer and sometimes as the protector. One should not accuse the Lord for any discrepancies. It is His plan that we see all varieties of life within the material world. All of them are ultimately His mercy. Although the entire cosmic manifestation is non-different, the material world is nonetheless different from the spiritual world. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can one understand how the wonderful material nature acts. For example, although Lord Brahma appeared from the lotus seat that had grown from the abdomen of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he could not understand what to do after his appearance. He was attacked by two demons, Madhu and Kaitabha, who took away Vedic knowledge. But the Lord killed them and entrusted to Lord Brahma the Vedic knowledge. Thus, the Lord appears in every millennium in the societies of demigods, human beings, animals, saints, and aquatics. All such incarnations are meant to protect the devotees and kill the demons. But this killing and protecting does not reflect any sense of partiality on the part of the Supreme Lord. The conditioned soul is always attracted by the external energy. Therefore, he is subjected to lust and greed, and he suffers under the conditions of material nature. The Lord's causeless mercy toward his devotee is the only means by which to get out of material existence. Anyone engaged in glorifying the Lord's activities is always unafraid of this material world, whereas one who cannot glorify the Lord in that way is subjected to all lamentation. Those interested in silently worshipping the Lord in a solitary place may be eligible for liberation themselves, but a pure devotee is always aggrieved to see others suffering. Therefore, not caring for his own liberation, he always engages in preaching by glorifying the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj, therefore, had tried to deliver his class friends by preaching and had never remained silent. Although being silent, observing austerities and penances, learning the Vedic literature, undergoing ritualistic ceremonies, living in a solitary place, and performing japa and transcendental meditation are approved means of liberation. They are meant for non-devotees or for cheaters who want to live at the expense of others. Ish. Let's read that again. Therefore, not caring for his own liberation, he always engages in preaching by glorifying the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj therefore had tried to deliver his class friends by preaching and had. Can someone post the link there for Shama? Therefore, not caring for his own liberation, he always engages in preaching by glorifying the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj therefore had tried to deliver his class friends by preaching and had never remained silent. Although being silent, observing austerities and penances, learning the Vedic literatures, undergoing ritualistic ceremonies, living in a solitary place, and performing japa and transcendental meditation are approved means of liberation. They are meant for non-devotees or for cheaters who want to live at the expense of others. Wow. A pure devotee, however, being freed from all such deceptive activities, is able to see the Lord face to face. The atomic theory of the composition of the cosmic manifestation is not factual. The Lord is the cause of everything, and therefore, He is the cause of this creation. One should therefore always engage in devotional service by offering respectful obeisances to the Lord, offering prayers, working for the Lord, worshipping the Lord in the temple, always remembering the Lord. Let's read that again. What did he say? Worshipping the Lord in the temple. Always remembering the Lord and always hearing about the transcendental activity, hearing about his transcendental activities. Without these 6 kinds of activity, one cannot attain to devotional service. Okay, that really needs a reread. One should therefore always engage in devotional service by offering respectful obeisances to the Lord, offering prayers, working for the Lord, worshipping the Lord in the temple, always remembering the Lord, and always hearing about his transcendental activities. Without these 6 kinds of activities, one cannot attain to devotional service. I think we should make a big banner of this and paste it in front of my forehead. Prahlad Maharaj thus offered his prayers to the Supreme Lord, begging his mercy at every step. Lord Nishingadev was pacified by Prahlad Maharaj's prayers and wanted to give him benedictions by which Prahlad could procure all kinds of material facilities. Prahlad Maharaj, however, was not misled by material facilities. Rather, he wanted to remain always a servant of the Lord. Okay, text 1. Shri Naradu Vacha Evam Suradhaya Sarve Brahma Rudra Pura Saraha No Paitum Asakan Manyu Samrambham Sudura Sadam. Sri Naradu Vacha Evam Suradhaya Sarve Brahma Rudra Pura Sura No Paitum Asakamanyu Samrambham Sudura Sadam. Sri Naradu Vacha Evam Suradhaya Sarve Brahma Rudra Pura Saraha No Paitum Asakam Manyu Samrambham Surada Saradam. Okay, anybody would like to repeat the verse,
Sri
please?
Narada Uvacha Evam Sura Daya Sarve Brahma Rudra Pura Suraha No Paitum Ashakan Manyu Samrambam Sudurasadam.
Okay. Sri Narada Vacha, the great saintly sage Narad Muni said, Evam thus, Sura Adaya, the groups of demigods, Sarve all, Brahma, Rudra, Pura, Saraha, represented by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Now, not upaitum, to go before the Lord, Asakan, able, Manu Samrambam, in a completely angry mood. Manu Samrambam, in a completely angry mood. Sudura Sadam, very difficult to approach, Lord Nishingadev. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The great saint Narad Muni continued, the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other great demigods dared not come forward before the Lord, who at that time was extremely angry. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in his Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Krodha Bhakta Dvesi Jane. Anger should be used to punish a demon who is envious of devotees. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya, lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and envy, all have their proper use for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His devotee. A devotee of the Lord cannot tolerate blasphemy of the Lord or His other devotees. And the Lord also cannot tolerate blasphemy of a devotee. Thus, Lord Nrsingadev was so very angry that the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and even the goddess of fortune, who is the Lord's constant companion, could not pacify him. Even after offering prayers of glorification and praise, no one was able to pacify the Lord in his anger. But because the Lord was willing to exhibit his affection for Prahlad Maharaj, all the demigods and the others present before the Lord pushed Prahlad Maharaj forward to pacify him. Om Agyana Timarandasya Janan Jana Shalakaya Chakshrunmitam Yana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Panchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Revacha Patitanam Pavnabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so of course Hiranyakashipu is no more, and we see that in this chapter, setting the scene. These great demigods are there, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and of course even Lakshmi Devi, and so many others are present. Still, no one dares approach the Lord in this so very angry mood, that Prabhupada is saying. So we can see these demigods are no ordinary demigods, such powerful entities. They have, of course, position, they have immense knowledge, and they have practically unlimited power as well. But we can see that in this case, they are pushing forward Prahlad Maharaj to pacify the Lord. So we understand, from even this introduction that Prabhupada was giving to this chapter, that it is, and we've discussed it extensively, and we should continue to discuss it extensively, that it is only by devotional service, and of course Prabhupada clarifies again that it is pure devotional service that one can understand the Supreme Lord. So what's the verse in Bhagavad Gita 18:55? Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yas chasmai tadvataha. It is only one can understand me as I am only by devotional service. So I was thinking that, just even reading just this chapter alone, from the introduction, just like how we have the 9 processes of devotion, any one of them can give us liberation. And this even introduction is giving us so much more information that yes, there is so many processes one can follow that can give one liberation. And it's interesting, Prabhupada's pointing out in the introduction there that actually there are these processes of devotion, these different processes are meant for non-devotees. And it is only by devotional service that one can understand the Supreme Lord and develop our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, Bhagavad Gita 11:53, 54, not by study, not by austerity, not by charity. It is only by devotion that one can approach the Supreme Lord. And so, of course, we understand these powerful entities present there at the scene were also, very devotional. But we can see that, their level of devotion, because we understand that, even Lord Indra, all these demigods are powerful living entities within the material creation. And of course, they are devotees of the Lord, but still there's different levels of devotion as well. So we see Prahlad Maharaj's unconditional devotion, unconditional bhakti is what favored, even we can say, the appearance of Lord Nishingadev. So we see that for non-devotees, the Supreme Lord is very, very terrifying, very inaccessible, and can be overwhelming. And we see the example is there, even Arjuna on the battlefield, when he requested the Lord to show his universal form, even he became terrified. Of course, we understand he's a pure devotee of the Lord. So there is these different features of the Lord that can be terrifying. But we see for the devotees who understands the Supreme Lord, who engages perpetually in his devotional service, that same Lord can be so affectionate, approachable, and very loving. And we can see Prahlad Maharaj, even previously in the previous verses, he was explaining, as Lord Nishinga, I'm saying as Lord, as Hiranyakashipu was being killed, that he had no fear. So Bhagavad Gita is very, very clear, 9:31, Kuntaya Prati Janti, Na me bhakta pranasyati, my devotee never perishes. And we see Prahlad Maharaj, I think it was in verse 43, he also mentions, I am not afraid. And so that's why the demigods were pushing him, please, you go forth and try to pacify the Lord's anger. So then Prabhupada talks about, how all these different qualities, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya, if they're not used in proper context, we understand that they are the different gates to hell: lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, and envy. So if we do not find proper use for these different qualities, then they will lead us to the gradual degradation of life, and we'll eventually end up in hell. But like Narottam Das Thakur is singing also, that anger should be used to punish a demon who is envious of devotees. So in this way, all these different qualities have their proper use for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. So for example, Prabhupada is giving: a devotee of the Lord cannot tolerate blasphemy of the Lord or his other devotees. And the Lord is also cannot tolerate blasphemy of a devotee. So thus Lord Nrsingadev was so angry that the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and even the goddess of fortune could not pacify him, even after offering prayers of glorification and praise. So yes, praise definitely is one of the ways by which one can get out of the cycle of birth and death. But we see in this instance, there's some emphasis that even after these great demigods were offering praise of glorification and praise, still it was not enough to pacify the Supreme Lord's anger. But because the Lord was willing to exhibit his affection for Prahlad Maharaj, he was able to pacify Lord Nrsingadev in that very angry mood. So the question is, how to dovetail all of these emotions in the service of the Lord. And, often as devotees, we speak about, okay, if you want to get angry at someone who's envious of the Lord or envious of a devotee. But still, I was thinking that we need to check ourselves. It depends on our levels of realization and Krishna consciousness, where we're at, that we're very careful about how we dovetail these propensities. On paper, it looks very, very nice that, these qualities can be dovetailed, but we need to be very, very mindful how we do that. Because as we understand as devotees, we can very easily, very, very easily make offenses. And unless we understand the Shastra and the different types of offenses against devotees, then, no use trying to dovetail, because, we could dovetail it very, very inappropriately. And, justify it on the basis of these verses that just see, the verse is saying we can use anger. But this is why Srimad Bhagavatam is there. There's countless examples given in Srimad Bhagavatam of, great devotees exhibiting dovetailing these qualities in the service of the Lord. And of course, the classic example is given here, that Lord Nrsingadev also was exhibiting this anger feature to protect Dharma. We see another great example given is Hanuman, that, what did he do with his, immense power and quality, and of course, anger. He burnt Lanka. So in this way, we can dovetail these qualities in the service of the Lord, but we should be very, very mindful and not just whimsically. So rather than, use anger against another devotee or non-devotee for that matter, because again, sometimes we as devotees, we want to dovetail anger and get upset, at another devotee, or maybe chastising another devotee or somebody else. And, this just spirals out of control sometimes. why don't we exhibit anger against our own bad habits? Let's look within. I think the last few days we've been talking about the different demons, and so many nice descriptions were there of the different demoniac qualities. And then we also spoke about in one of the previous classes about how to identify the devotees and demons. But I was thinking later on that, why don't we just focus rather than focusing on how to identify, you know, uh, uh, people with non-devotee qualities, or yeah, how to identify demons and devotees. Why don't we just focus on identifying our own demons within ourselves? And I can tell you, I've got unlimited demons within myself. So why don't we just use that anger against, all of these demons within myself, and try to make a plan of how to get rid of all of these anarthas within ourselves first. And if we can make that the focus, I think, we'll be much safer in our Krishna consciousness. We'll be able to get much more protection from the Supreme Lord. And in this way, gradually get rid of so many unwanted anarthas within ourselves. Because it seems like it's all about, making advancement in our Krishna consciousness. Of course, we have Srimad Bhagavatam that, gives us detailed knowledge. So if we can regularly read, hear from senior devotees, the Srimad Bhagavatam, then gradually, by dovetailing these propensities, we can make advancement on our journey back home, back to Godhead. So use anger against all these bad habits that we have. And of course, we have so much of now, in this digital age, we have so much of information out there on the internet, so many classes, countless classes, actually, unlimited classes that, we can constantly hear. And yes, we need to constantly hear. And I liked what Taraka Prabhu was saying yesterday, that he doesn't have time to scroll Facebook, try to understand what Bhakti Vikas Swami's position is, what Hridayananda Maharaj's position is, get into the intricacies of debate. So I think this is a very beneficial way for us to make advancement in our Krishna consciousness. That there's no time for anything else. There's just so much of service. Prabhupada spoke about serving at the temple. And, I was also, when I came this morning again to address the deities, Hari Chakra Prabhu seems to be there 7 days a week now. Of course, he comes 4 days a week, but it seems like every time I come, Hari Chakra Prabhu is always there. So I was appreciating, his sacrifices, that before work, he makes a sacrifice of, praying, engaging practically in devotional service, doing the puja in the mornings, waking the Lord up. And I was thinking, how wonderful. I was remembering we used to also do this, even though we kept, 9-to-5 jobs. Parijat and I, we used to also go during the week, wake the deities, do Mangal Arti, chant japa with devotees, and so many nice things. Yes, of course, keeping a regular job might be challenging, but ultimately, it's like I say all the time, it's a personal choice. There's so many examples around us of devotees, exhibiting these qualities. And so we need to just ponder more closely, why can't we do this? Why can't I come in the mornings and, engage in puja, bless the deities, whatever it is. But of course, we have so many long lists of why we can't, because I work, because I do this, because I do that. And yes, I'm not saying that anyone is wrong. I'm saying, yes, all are right. Sometimes we'll consult with another devotee who we know is going to agree with us. And we say, should I go in the mornings before work? Because I'm going to be tired at work. So many reasons are there. And of course, they know this devotee is going to say, no, it's okay. You're a grihasta, you live outside the temple. So, he'll give you so many reasons to justify your own position. But like I say, it is a very, very personal choice, Krishna consciousness for every one of us. Yes, we can learn so many things from other devotees, but we need to understand what is our internal dialogue. Okay, what else? We also spoke about the other day, or yesterday even, we spoke about surrender and, the level of surrender that's required. The example was given of Draupadi's surrender. And, until she threw both her hands up in the air and surrendered completely, then she got the actual mercy of the Lord. So, these things or these qualities of surrender don't come easily. It's not a cheap thing. And we need to really contemplate, practical examples around us of how, devotees are advancing in their Krishna consciousness and, take lessons from them. I was telling Hari Chakra Prabhu this morning that, you set such a high standard of, coming and doing the morning puja. How many of us can follow that example? And he's been doing it not, for one day, 1 year, 3 months, 6 months, 5 years. He's been doing it consistently for more than 20 years. I don't know the exact, I should find out the exact years, but it's definitely more than 20 years. And so, this is the kind of commitment and, dedication that is required. Hearing 1 or 2 classes and thinking that, we've become pure devotees, or even just reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, it's an amazing feat. But thinking that we're pure devotees after that and, guaranteed going back home to Godhead is not the proper dialogue we should be having within ourselves. Using anger properly instead of reacting emotionally. So there's so many exercises we can do to help us get rid of all of these bad habits and unwanted anarthas within ourselves. And I was thinking, for myself, I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. My memory seems to be gradually fading with time and age. And, we see around us so many even advanced devotees, senior devotees, contracting, dementia, so many different ailments, Alzheimer's, so many things are there. And, just waiting, of course, trying to engage in devotional service, but we should make a proper plan to get rid of these unwanted anarthas. Because by the time we start forgetting even what we did yesterday, we need to make a definite plan of how to get rid of these unwanted anarthas. And so, of course, most of us understand the best way is to write things down. If we can write things down and, ponder, all of these habits that we have, then we can try to address these unwanted anarthas. Otherwise, just hearing classes, we forget. We hear a class just now, a class that my Guru Maharaj gave, and, he made many, many points in the class. But if someone asks you to remember exactly what was spoken in the class that you just heard, very difficult. So we understand this is the nature of this age of Kali Yuga. Quarrel, hypocrisy, all these poor qualities, everything is very, very prevalent. And so I was asking our famous Chat GPT to help. And so I put some information in it and I got out a nice document or process for journaling our emotions. And then, once we journal like this, then we can see how we're addressing each point. And I'm sending it here on the group. So if you want, you can try to review this. And it's entitled From Reaction to Devotion. So the idea is, every day in our lives, we can look at what triggered our emotions, today. So at the end of the day, maybe reflect on what triggered our emotions and what was our emotional response. So first, of course, we need to identify, these different emotions. And we can see the prime candidates are there. Anger, lust, greed, attachment, moha, pride, envy. And then we can also rate our intensity level. And then we can try to probe what was the underlying desire. Sometimes, we're very reactive in our responses. Some devotee might say something and, we very reactive. We don't think before we speak. I know I'm very guilty of that. But if we can slow things down and then find out, what was not being fulfilled. And in this way, if we gradually go through at least this, there's countless things that one can drop, can improve. I think there's so many seminars that one can participate in. Mahatma Prabhu has unlimited seminars. You can drop whatever works for you. This is just one example. But and then we can see how to, like this verse is saying today, redirect, dovetail all of these emotions. And of course, the bottom line is, did I pause before reacting? Did I remember that I am the spirit soul? I'm not this body. I saw one nice verse in the Bhagavatam. Can I find it? I can't find it. Can't find it. And I was like, wow, why didn't I know that? How could I not remember? Bhagavatam 11:28-15. Lamentation, elation, fear, anger, greed, confusion, and hankering, as well as birth and death, are experiences of the false ego and not of the pure soul. Lamentation, elation, fear, anger, greed, confusion, and hankering. Yes, that I understand is not an experience of the pure soul. But then the verse so nicely and aptly puts it, what about birth and death? So we understand, of course, the soul doesn't die, never born. But when you put it in this context, you're like, wow, that's pretty amazing that it's true. And so, of course, Prabhupada gives a nice purport there. The false ego is the pure soul's illusory identification with the subtle material mind and the gross material body. And then also, I think Devaki sent this nice verse out. I mean, not verse, nice excerpt out of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's beggar book recently. Bravery is one of the most important aspects of surrender. One cannot be transcendently brave without first being selfless and humble. Unless one, yeah.
Uh, it's uncertain, but Probably not even by lunchtime.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of stuff to prepare and figure out for that stuff. Yes. Is there still plan to run transmission?
Yeah, but Allison said she's pretty much just gonna wait until you're ready.
No, she can run. She doesn't need to wait for me. So she can run transmission. That's actually better. So she can run transmission. Then if I need to, I can just run in the background.
Okay, let's continue reading. Bravery is one of the most important aspects of surrender. One cannot be transcendently brave without first being selfless and humble. Unless one is truly selfless and humble, one will not value others sufficiently and will therefore mainly act for his or her own so-called welfare. Where there is proper selflessness and humility, a devotee will eagerly become the servant of others. A selfless, humble devotee is so brave that if necessary, he or she will stand alone to defend truth and integrity, despite being in the minority. The brave devotee is determined to represent the acharyas and give only his or her best offerings to them. A brave devotee is the finest spiritual warrior because he fights on the subtle battlefield of consciousness with weapons of compassion, truth, and love. A brave devotee monitors his actions and is guided by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Thus, he or she proceeds with great confidence and competence. So that was just an excerpt. So we can see, if one is brave, and of course, if one is fearful, we know what happens when one is fearful. So when one is brave, he can take on anything on the basis of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we need to practice, learn how to become brave, and we see that these qualities of selflessness and humility feature very prominently for one who is brave. Otherwise, unfortunately, if we are fearful, if we are have weakness of heart, then one cannot become brave. And I'm thinking also, another example we get from the Bhagavatam is how Bhishma Dev, he did not speak, when he was supposed to, when the disrobing of Draupadi was happening, being the senior most elder, he chose to be quiet. And of course, he could give a long list of reasons of why he acted in that way, and I can relate totally with Bhishma Dev's position. But we see the lesson from that was that he had to suffer because he was in a position where he could have prevented that, but he didn't. He just chose to keep quiet. And so most times we find ourselves in these situations. But of course, we want to only act according to our levels of realization. We don't want to start to defend others on the basis of truth and integrity if we don't have sufficient knowledge of the Shastra. So act according to your realization. Otherwise, and I think, Agari Krishna's message yesterday also was very clear, following in the footsteps of his spiritual master, Devamrita Maharaj, that best, when debates are going on, don't hear it. Just don't. It's the safest for our levels of realization. And, if you are properly engaged in devotional service, then you'll be like Taraka Prabhu, no time to get involved. Leave it to the executive committee of the GBC to sort these things out. Don't start to analyze and make these types of topics applicable to your everyday life. Okay, that's all I had, devotees. There's a few more things, but time for questions, comments, additions, subtractions.
Thank you, Dhruva Prabhu. Very nice class. You've given us so much to contemplate, and we can I at least have lots of comments, but we don't have time. There's so many nice points that I'd like to develop further, but time is critical. This question of anger, or we have innately a propensity to find fault, and you speak of dovetailing and dovetailing anger. And Srila Prabhupada explains that all of these different propensities, even apparently mundane propensities, have their proper application in devotional service. If you understand how to properly dovetail, there's a science, and one has to learn how to properly apply. But so the tendency to find fault is misapplied when applied to others, and properly applied when we apply it to ourselves. You made that point, and very, very important, but also important to understand is that when we do see those faults in ourselves, and we'll find many, Krishna also, incidentally, if we are sincere in Krishna consciousness, even if we're not so sincere, Krishna is very kind and merciful. He will help us to see the faults in ourselves. He'll point them out in various ways. He will make them prominent in our life by various means. He's an expert engineer that way. So when we do see them, then what is the appropriate course of action? What do we do when we see them? If simply becoming angry or frustrated will not eradicate the faults. What should happen? The process is that we should then feel incentivized to take corrective action, purificatory action, which is devotional service, particularly hearing and chanting. So, because no other means is going to uproot those faults. You can't artificially try to remove, some anartha. It will not work. What works is hearing and chanting. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. If you simply chant the holy names, that will quickly uproot all of the anarthas. So understanding the process is helpful. We want to identify, we want to see the faults. We don't focus on the faults of others. That's a process of subtle sense gratification. It's a process by which an individual will try to feel better about themselves by creating a sense of contrast. You look at the faults of others and then compare them to yourself, and you think, well, look at all the faults in this guy, or how severe they are. I'm not that bad. You make yourself feel better about yourself. You distract from your own faults so that you can feel better about yourself. But this is not helpful. This will not advance your mission of Krishna consciousness. It only serves to stymie your progress. So we redirect that tendency towards ourselves. Then it's properly applied. Then when you see the faults in yourself, you should feel strongly incentivized to affect some kind of correction. And so it becomes incentive to chant Hare Krishna. As we advance in our understanding of the science of Krishna consciousness, we gradually come to understand more and more how to properly utilize everything. And when we do, then everything serves to remind us of Krishna. So our own faults will remind us of Krishna in that way, amongst others, that hearing and chanting the holy names is the medicine. It is the means by which we purify ourselves of those anarthas. There are so many other points I'd like to comment on, but we don't have time.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Taraka Prabhu. Anyone else? Anyone else? I'm sorry, Parijara was trying to tell me that she's going to open the curtain there, so I was not saying yes to you. Sorry, Chara.
I'll say something more if I may.
Yes,
You
sure,
were,
please.
you were talking about devotional service, and in particular, you gave the example of Hari Chakra Prabhu, who wonderful example of rendering so much selfless service, um, uh, lots of sacrifice to consistently perform the service that he does very early in the morning, um, when others might prefer to remain in their warm, comfortable bed. He gets up and bathes and comes to the temple to render service to their lordships. Very, very wonderful example. And it's that's ideal. It's exemplary. It's the ideal of a householder. This is precisely what Srila Prabhupada established our temples for, because the benefit is immense. One may hear Hari Chakra Prabhu speak and admire his eloquence and his profound knowledge of various subjects and his ability to express them. Um, it's very admirable. But how has he come to be like this? Part of part of how he came to be like this is by his willingness to perform devotional service, to take advantage of the opportunities afforded all of us by Srila Prabhupada. Why did Srila Prabhupada establish Gita Nagari? Why did he install Sri Radha Damodar here? Um, the benefit for those who take advantage is immense. We could chant Hare Krishna anywhere, but Shastra says that if you chant Hare Krishna in the temple room, the benefit is multiplied 1,000 times, 1,000 times greater than chanting in other places. So, um, um, and sometimes devotees think, well, why should I take the trouble to go to the temple? I can just chant here at home. I have service here at home. I'm also performing devotional service. I prepare boga and I offer it to my household deities, or a photo, or whatever arrangement I have made. I can chant here in my home. I can do all these things in my home. Why should I go to the temple? Krishna is everywhere. Why should I go to the temple? But we shortchange ourselves by doing that. It's yes, all these things are true. Krishna is everywhere. Yes, you can render service at home, and you absolutely should. Particularly if it's not possible to get to the temple. But if you can get to the temple and render service there, the benefit is far greater. To get the darshan of their lordships, to render service in the association of other devotees, to be in that environment. It's not an ordinary environment. Wherever the Lord's deity is installed, that place, that entire place, the entire property, all of it is no longer the material world. It is, Srila Prabhupada explains, it is actually directly Vaikuntha. It's not an ordinary place. And because it's a very special place, not anyone can go there. It requires some special mercy. You need permission to enter the holy Dham. Not just anyone can do that. It's a special thing. But when you do, that's an extraordinary achievement, and the benefit is very, very great. Rendering service in the holy Dham is hundreds and thousands of times more beneficial than doing so anywhere else. Why would we deprive ourselves of that opportunity? What an opportunity! So much advancement can be made. And these things are they are devotional principles. To to reside in the holy Dham. One could say, well, Gita Nagari includes the greater Gita Nagari, the outlying community, but what is the benefit of living in a temple community if you don't go to the temple and render service there? The idea is that you go to the temple and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself is there. He's presenting himself for you to see and to serve. What an opportunity! You derive immense benefit just by engaging your legs in walking to the temple. It's a very special thing, and a devotee should also feel a sense of duty, a sense of duty towards the deities, a sense of duty towards our founder Acharya, who to whom we all owe an immense debt of gratitude that every opportunity that we have in Krishna consciousness has been afforded us by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada asked some things of us. He wanted some things. He established a certain program for us to follow. He makes himself and his extraordinary mercy available to us, but we have to take advantage of it. He told me personally that he attends Mangala Artik every single day. He is personally present there. If we are not there, and we miss the opportunity to receive his mercy, we for those of us who attend Mangala Artik every day, we sing Gauravashtika in the morning, and in the first verse, it's explained that the spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, and he's distributing that mercy like a cloud pours rain everywhere indiscriminately, even on the ocean. Where it's not necessarily needed, so as you are singing that during Mangala Artik, the spiritual master is disseminating his mercy on you. And if you're hearing attentively and you're a little bit conscious and not asleep, you will appreciate the fact that you're being bathed in the mercy of the spiritual master in extraordinary ways. The sound vibration itself, just that alone, is an absolute banquet of transcendental tastes. You want to relish that. That is your lifeline. That's the mercy of the spiritual master. It's one form of the mercy of the spiritual master. It is prasad. You want to relish that. Drink it in as much as you possibly can. It is the medicine, and you cannot OD. You want to drink as much of that medicine as possible. You learn by this how to be Krishna conscious, how to act on the platform of Krishna consciousness. You learn spiritual tastes and spiritual exchanges and spiritual activity. All of that is present there. It is alive and active, and you can learn that and appreciate it and act on that platform. It begins by just being there and participating in the process. Srila Prabhupada established Guru Puja every morning. Guru Puja is, we do that particularly to offer our respects to our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. It's not for gurus in general. It is specifically for Srila Prabhupada. And we are expected to do that every day. We can do it at home, but Srila Prabhupada is personally present here at Gita Nagari. He's sitting there on his Vyasasan, the very same Vyasasan he sat on countless times in New York. It is Tadiya, and so it is not different from him. Srila Prabhupada is present in many ways. To have that darshan is very, very special and so extremely beneficial. Why deprive ourselves of the opportunity? Very, very special. Transcendental holy Dham, Gita Nagari, not an ordinary place. It appears to be ordinary, but it's not ordinary. Krishna's temple is Vaikuntha. Krishna's farm is Vaikuntha. We could go on and on. we're going over time. I apologize.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you. Just a disclaimer, we didn't pay Taraka Prabhu anything to speak those kind words. Yes, we all know this, but how do we practice it practically in our lives is the key. Anyone else has any thoughts and realizations that they'd like to share, get more insight on? Everybody knows. Okay, if there's nothing else, devotees, no other comments or questions. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bo.